Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle if you're new, and we're just gonna go ahead and jump straight into today's video. I'm gonna show you what I like to prepare each St. Patrick's Day, and I make a variation of this pretty much every year. But this time I'm just gonna show you like a baked corned beef and cabbage recipe, and we're also gonna be making some baked potatoes. So go ahead and relax, and I'll show you one of my favorite St. Patrick's Day meals. So as you saw earlier, I preheated the oven to 325 degrees and I got my corned beef cut out, and typically these come with a spice packet. So I just sprinkled that on top and then kind of patted it in, and now I'm just going to lightly cover it with some tin foil, and then we're gonna cook this bad boy for about 2.5 hours. Hey Google, set a timer for 2.5 hours.
Sure, 2 hours and 30 minutes. Starting now.
So with today's meal, I'm making some baked potatoes. A potato side is really good to have with corned beef and cabbage. I think that mashed potatoes is actually a better option, but I think baked potatoes is actually just an easier option. So that's what I went with today. So I'm just going to wipe off these potatoes, and then I'll be preparing them by rubbing them in olive oil and sprinkling them with salt. And it's just such a simple and easy way to make a very good baked potato. The 2.5 hours is up, so I'm going to go ahead and pull out the corned beef and uncover it and cook it again for another 15 minutes or so, just to kind of crisp up the outer layer of it, and it's so good that way. While the corned beef and potatoes continue to cook, I'm going to prepare the cabbage, and it is so simple. It's such an easy side dish for really lots of different meals. So we're just going to fill up the pot, bring it to a boil, and while the water is boiling, I'll go ahead and chop up the cabbage and then let it boil for maybe 10 minutes or so, just until the cabbage is soft, and then I'll show you how I continue to prepare the cabbage. So in order for me to know whether or not the corned beef is done, all I have to do is just stick it with a fork, and if it meets with any kind of resistance, then it still needs to continue to cook. I cooked it for 15 minutes after the initial 2 hours and 30 minutes, but it could need to cook a little bit longer than that, so it just depends on probably how big your cut is. Mine was not very large, so it didn't have to cook too much longer. To finish off the cabbage, I'm going to season it with some salt and pepper, and I also added, I think, maybe half a stick of butter. I also really like to add dill to my cabbage. It's really delicious. It just gives it a little bit more of a little bit more flavor. I didn't on this day just because I wasn't sure how it would go with the corned beef, but if you're preparing cabbage for another day or with a different meal, dill is a good option to season your cabbage. Now that my family is all fed and full, it's time to put everything away. So I just need to put all the leftovers in containers to put in the refrigerator. And I ended up eating this actually for another 2 days for lunch. So it saves really, really well in the refrigerator for a few days. St. Patrick's Day is actually one of my most favorite holidays. I have quite a bit of Irish blood in me, so it's just one of those fun holidays to celebrate. So I make this probably, or something like this, every year for St. Patrick's Day, like I said earlier. And when I was looking up recipes for this specific meal, I learned that a more authentic version of it is actually, instead of corned beef and cabbage, it's ham and cabbage, which is actually a meal that my grandmother made as I was growing up. And I think probably even long before then. And it's one of my most favorite meals that she makes. So I think on St. Patrick's Day this year, I'll actually just be making the typical ham and cabbage with mashed potatoes. It's like I said, it's just one of my most favorite meals. It's definitely a comfort food for me. So if you celebrate St. Patrick's Day by making any kind of meals or treats, let me know down below in the comments. A lot of times I'll actually make green muffins using spinach, and my daughter loves them. My son's a little grossed out by the spinach part, but honestly, they taste really good. You can't even taste the spinach. So like I said, let me know down below some of the ways that you like to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. thank you so much for hanging out with me today while I cooked a meal for St. Patrick's Day for my family. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that if you try this recipe that you like it. And if you do, once again, please let me know down below in the comments, because I would just love to know if you tried this recipe or if you've tried similar recipes. I'd love to know another variation of it. So thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye guys.